Hello and welcome to Thirsty Thoughts, in which I present my August wrap-up and my September TBR. I finished 8 books in August. Incompetence by Rob Grant, Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki, Swann's Way, the first volume of In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust, Tono-Bungay by H.G. Wells, and Mrs. Craddock by W. Somerset Maugham. I reviewed these first 5 in my mid-month wrap-up, which you can see in the info cards above. I also finished The Loved One by Evelyn Waugh. Alice Thomas Ellis, reviewing The Loved One in the Daily Telegraph, one of the UK's most prestigious daily newspapers, wrote that The Loved One is one of the funniest and most significant books of the century. So of course I was expecting something really special, outstanding and life-changing. As I read through this somewhat clever, satirical and amusing slight novella of 120 pages, nothing particularly special emerged. Neither was it outstanding in any particular way, nor was it life-changing, and it certainly was not one of the funniest books of the 20th century, nor was it the most significant book of the 20th century. I thought it was an okay novella, light, amusing and cleverly satirical, and contains one witty quote which I've included at the end of this video. Apart from that, it was ephemeral, lacked depth of either characterization or substantive plot, and will quickly fade from memory. I also finished The Churchill Factor by Boris Johnson. The Churchill Factor is a remarkable biography of a remarkable man by a remarkable writer. This is a warts and all look at the great man's achievements and a thorough examination of his stupendous blunders. Johnson does his utmost to paper over the cracks and to offer mitigating excuses for why Churchill made the decisions he did. But ultimately he has the honesty to admit that some of Churchill's actions were inexcusable and motivated by the lust for power or glory, both for himself and for Great Britain, or as Churchill would have conceived it at the time, for the British Empire. Johnson is a thoroughly engaging writer, obviously starstruck, but then who wouldn't be when contemplating that extraordinary character and of what he ultimately achieved. Boris Johnson was Mayor of London for 8 years and then Foreign Minister of State in Theresa May's government before becoming our current Prime Minister. Like Churchill, Johnson is a journalist, novelist and biographer. Like Churchill, he has a great command of English language and is a charismatic speaker. Like Churchill, Johnson is a man of vision with the force of will to carry out his intentions. He's fiercely intelligent, patriotic and believes in the future of the United Kingdom. Like Churchill, he is a man to inspire, motivate and lead. And like Churchill, he has serious character defects. Churchill came to ultimate power at a moment of crisis in our national life. Boris Johnson has come to ultimate power at another crisis in our national life, when the very concept of national sovereignty, democracy and the freedom to determine our own futures is once again at stake. Churchill was a great believer in and promoter of European unity. He also believed that Great Britain should have close ties with Europe, but not to the extent of being subsumed by a European superstate. Here's what Churchill wrote in 1930. But we, the British people, have our own dream and our own task. We are with Europe, but not of it. We are linked, but not comprised. We are interested and associated, but not absorbed. It is this sense of having been absorbed by the growing European superstate that has caused the British people to revolt and reject what we never intended in the first place. The erosion of our freedoms to determine our own course that Churchill championed in his time has gone too far, and we are looking to Boris Johnson to extricate us on the 31st of October, come what may. And I also finished The Castle by Franz Kafka. In it, a protagonist known only as K arrives in a village and struggles to gain access to the mysterious authorities who govern it from a castle. Kafka died before finishing the work, but suggested it would end with K dying in the village, the castle notifying on his deathbed that his legal claim to live in the village was not valid. Yet, taking certain auxiliary circumstances into account, he was permitted to live and work there. Dark and at times surreal, the castle is often understood to be about alienation, unresponsive bureaucracy, the frustration of trying to conduct business with non-transparent, seemingly arbitrary controlling systems, and the futile pursuit of an unobtainable goal. I have read The Trial and Metamorphoses by Kafka, and of these three works I enjoyed The Castle the most. It had some strange elements that seemed a bit unrealistic, such as Kay and Frida falling in love and deciding to get married immediately upon meeting. But one must suspend disbelief and go with the flow of the story. The other unrealistic element was the long-winded conversational monologues that almost everyone indulged in, which was really Kafka speaking through every one of them. Again, accepting this for the sake of the story, I found the surreal stories told in the monologues quite entertaining. I have 3 books on my TBR for September. Pere Goriot by Honore de Balzac, as recommended by Brian at Bookish. It is described as the tragic story of a father whose obsessive love for his 2 daughters leads to his financial and personal ruin. It is set against the background of a whole society driven by social ambition and lust for money. The detailed descriptions of both affluence and squalor in the Paris of 1819 are an integral part of the drama, played out by a wide range of characters, including the sinister but fascinating Bertrand. It is also said to be one of Balzac's finest novels, which still has the power to move the modern reader. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, which I'm going to be reading together with Madeline of Made with Books during September and October. In the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer created one of the great touchstones of English literature, a masterly collection of chivalric romances, moral allegories and low farce. A storytelling competition between a group of pilgrims from all walks of life is the occasion for a series of tales that range from the knight's account of courtly love and the brilliant wife of Bath's Arthurian legend to the ribald anecdotes of the miller and the cook. Rich and diverse, the Canterbury Tales offers us an unrivaled glimpse into the life and mind of medieval England. And The Sun in Splendour by Jean Plaidy, the 14th and final book in her Plantagenet series. And now, here's a thirsty thought.